I couldn't understand it. I was madly in love with a disabled man who unfortunately sat in a wheelchair. My parents, who always urged me to follow my feelings, now simply said that they did not want to know anything about him. He was not welcome in their home, and they no longer wished to see me either. A feeling of incomprehension and powerlessness took over my state of mind. Instead of arguing, I decided they deserved worse. Then I did this. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. My father had tried to budge me, promising me that my life would be so much better if I were with a man who could provide me with anything I might need. Still, their behavior raised many questions. What was wrong? Why were my parents suddenly behaving like this? And most importantly, how could I make them pay for their disgusting behavior? Jacob and I had only met a few months after the doctors had said that he would permanently reside in a wheelchair. With minimal hope of recovery, Jacob had accepted his fate, but shortly thereafter he met me. He had been wheeling himself at a bookstore but was unable to reach one of the books. We got to talking from there on, and I knew we were meant to be. This was a true connection of hearts, minds, and undeniable chemistry. He had always felt guilty towards me that I was dating half a man, but I always assured him that he was more than enough for me. I had to leave my hometown and fly to the other side of the country for university and potential jobs. It wasn't until Jacob proposed that I realized I had waited far too long for him to meet them. I had gotten us both tickets and told my parents that I was coming home for a week to announce some great news to them. I never would have thought it would turn into this. I was ready to announce my engagement to my parents and for them to get to know Jacob like I had. "What is the meaning of this, Sarah?" my dad said, a stern look on his face. I thought this was just some tough love they were giving him back then. I had never seen my parents like this. For a moment, I hoped that this was a little confusion. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad," I had started off, giving them each a kiss on the cheek. I hadn't even noticed how my father was staring daggers at Jacob. "This is Jacob," I said, gesturing toward him. Jacob was a marked man. He was getting no chances with my parents. Engagement revelation, my mom had looked in between Jacob and me, and her eye fell on the ring on my finger. "I can't believe this, Sarah." Dad looked confused at Mom, but she pointed at the ring on my finger. His eyes narrowed at the sight of it, and Dad straightened his back. "Sarah, I'm sorry to do this to you, but you can either come in alone or not at all." What was going on? What was wrong? "Dad, what do you mean? He is my fiancé. We have been together for 2 years. Jacob was clearly unwelcome and unwanted here. My father went into an over-the-top, senseless rage that left Jacob and I in shock. As soon as I found the reason why they disapproved of him, his disability, I knew I couldn't argue with them anymore. No, I had to do something they would truly feel, and those were certainly not words. As we moved away, my childhood home filled with memories of warmth and love now felt like a fortress of prejudice. As we stepped into our car, the silence was palpable. Turning to him, I mustered a weak smile. "We have each other, right?" Jacob squeezed my hand. "Always," he whispered. Every night since leaving my parents' home, my thoughts lingered on their cold rejection. The realization dawned on me that I couldn't live my life constantly seeking validation they'd never give. I resolved to act, to take control of my narrative. We decided on an intimate wedding ceremony, away from the specter of judgment. A few days after our union, I penned a wedding announcement to my parents. My words were concise, detailing our commitment without reproach. Celebration of Love Our Honeymoon was a whirlwind of laughter, adventure, and endless conversations. Every location held its charm, every moment steeped in our shared happiness. Night after night, I began crafting our wedding album. Each photograph told a story of laughter, tears, and unyielding love. However, with each page turned, the absence of my parents became more palpable. The morning the test showed 2 pink lines, our world transformed. Joy, apprehension, excitement, emotions overwhelmed us in waves. I held Jacob's hand, the certainty of his grip anchoring me. "We're going to be parents," he whispered, wonder evident in his voice. Martha and Peter could not escape the constant inquiries. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers would approach with seemingly casual questions. "Have you seen your grandchild? Must be a delight to be grandparents." Lisa had always been the bridge between Sarah and the world they once shared. Watching the chasm grow between her best friend and the parents who once doted on her, she couldn't stay silent. One afternoon, she knocked on the familiar door of the house on Elm Street. "We need to talk," she began, her voice firm yet laced with sorrow. Lisa knew that building bridges sometimes needed reaching out. Seated in the living room, surrounded by memories, Lisa detailed the pain they had unknowingly inflicted. "Do you know how much Sarah cried? How worthy Jacob is of love?" she asked. Every word, every recollection served as a mirror, forcing Martha and Peter to confront their prejudices and their lost moments with their daughter and the man she loved. Martha and Peter could barely take the sharp stabs of the words Lisa spoke. Once Lisa left, silence enveloped the house. They realized their prejudices and fears had led them down a painful path, one that needed correction. The following week, they started attending counseling sessions, hoping to mend their hearts and, with time, the broken bond with their daughter. The weight of missed birthdays, anniversaries, and the birth of their grandchild was overwhelming. The hope that it was not too late to make amends. Writing the letter sitting at her antique writing desk, Martha took a deep breath. She began penning down her emotions, each word carrying years of guilt and longing. The familiar handwriting made Sarah's heart race. Holding the envelope, her hands trembled, memories flooding back, both bitter and sweet. The letter represented a hope she hadn't dared to consider. Torn, she slowly began to read. She knew who had sent the letter and could only guess what her parents wanted to say. "Dear Sarah," the letter began, each word seeping with regret. Martha's words painted a picture of recognition, realization, and redemption. An apology from parents never comes easy, and it's even harder to receive. Jacob found Sarah lost in thought, the letter clutched tightly. Seeing his wife's conflict, he gently broached the topic. They spoke for hours, weighing the weight of the past against the possibility of a better future. The next morning, Sarah picked up the phone. Her voice slightly trembled as she dialed the familiar number. "Mom," she began, taking a deep breath. "We need to talk." The decision was made. She would confront her parents face to face, searching for closure, if not reconciliation. The floodgates opened and years of anguish poured out. "You missed my wedding, my pregnancy, the birth of your grandchild," she accused, tears streaking down her face. Sarah had 1,000 questions in her mind, and when they started flowing, there was no stopping her. Martha took a deep breath, her voice shaky. "Sarah, there's something we've never told you." And then she narrated the heartbreaking tale of Sarah's uncle. The accident, the wheelchair, societal judgments, the subsequent depression, and the tragic end. The tale was punctuated by her sobs. "We were scared history would repeat itself." Sarah had not expected this bombshell that her mother dropped. Jacob, sensing the need to break the ice, began sharing anecdotes from his life. He spoke about his college days, his passion for technology, his achievements, and how he never let his disability define him. But most importantly, he spoke of his profound love for Sarah and the life they dreamed of building together. As he spoke, a genuine, charismatic warmth radiated from him. As the evening progressed, Martha and Peter's guarded demeanor began to thaw. They laughed at Jacob's jokes, showed genuine interest in his tales, and gradually saw the man their daughter loved, not just the wheelchair he used. Martha and Peter quickly discovered how much more there was to Jacob beyond his physical appearance. The evening culminated with a heartfelt toast. Sarah, holding back tears, spoke of love, acceptance, and second chances. Martha and Peter, with a newfound appreciation for Jacob, hoped for a future where love prevailed over prejudice. The dinner didn't erase past wounds, but it sowed the seeds of understanding, forgiveness, and a promise for a brighter, unified tomorrow. There was hope, there was life, and most importantly, there was love.